doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're here to present you our MLB On Deck segment for Thursday, April 11th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below and so you can watch all of our MLB, NBA, NFL videos. If you haven't came and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel, and DraftKings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure and check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey, what up, Jeremy? How you doing, bro?
Yo, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, another day. We got a small slate. This is actually one of them slates where there's a couple good pitchers going, so there's not clear cut bats that are like super jumping out to you. We actually got some options pitching wise for a small slate. I think this is a slate you're probably gonna like because there's some good GPP pitchers on this slate for sure.
Hey, bro, all I'm going to tell you is if you guys didn't check out the site and get all of our Masters content, you absolutely missed out, man. This is the greatest. I'm more interested in the Masters right now behind me than I am in all the lineups we built last night. Our optimizer tool works phenomenally with building out a pool, liking a core, or liking a player pool, locking in a core, generate lineups. You and I last night did a bunch of iterations, put in a bunch of lineups and a bunch of contests seamlessly. Exported them and mass entry replaced. And our player pool that was up on the site and the core plays that we had. I mean, there's guys right now that are doing very, very well already. Tied fifth, Charlie Hoffman, guy we had, JB Holmes, the guy we had.
Real quick too, Jeremy, sorry to interrupt you. Hey man, for everybody who's our NBA season long member, for everybody who's in our chat, in our free premium chat room, hey man, I sent you guys out our optimal lineup for FanDuel, absolutely free last night. I hope that you got that lineup in. The lineup started out very, very well this morning. So yeah, man, hey, we got a lot of good things going on. So I mean, we're just gonna quickly jump into this baseball slate. Like I said, it's a small slate. There's some decent pitchers. This is a slate where you're really gonna have to go a little bit more in depth with bat wise, in my opinion, to kind of get a little bit of an edge because you got 4 or 5 pitchers that you could definitely use. So I mean, I'm gonna start with Boston. Boston has the highest implied total on this slate. They're at home. They get a matchup with Aaron Sanchez. Aaron Sanchez actually had a pretty decent start his first outing this season. But, man, Boston, they're due to break out of a slump. They got some really good hitters, and they got some hitters that have some good numbers off Aaron Sanchez, a couple guys that really stand out. You got Jackie Bradley for dirt cheap. He's 5 for 16 with a double, a home run, and a stolen base. Benintendi is 3 for 13 with the bomb. Betts is 7 for 26 with 2 doubles and a home run. And JD Martinez is 5 for 19 with a double and home run. So, look, this is what I'm finding out early about Boston, and this is kind of one thing I've been saying. Aaron Sanchez is a decent pitcher. He's not a bad pitcher. There's a bunch of decent pitchers on this slate to target. And, so, I mean, with Boston, obviously, the guys that I mentioned, there's some guys with home runs off Sanchez, etc. But none of these guys have crazy high batting averages like they're owning them. And they all have 15, almost 20-plus sample sizes. So it's not an extremely small sample size. So for me, when I look at Boston, they have the highest implied total on the slate. They have some guys that could definitely hit Aaron Sanchez in this spot. But it's not even like a crazy stack like, oh, my God, we have to get Boston in because they're going to blow up Sanchez. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, do you kind of feel that same way about Boston?
I don't know, bro.
You get on Sanchez.
I mean, look, it's 42 degrees there, right? So one thing that I covered in the deep dive that I'll briefly touch on yesterday that I'll briefly touch on today is one thing that is worrisome is pitchers. And so yesterday, Darvish, I'll give that as an example. I ended up saying in the morning that I thought he was a guy you could possibly consider. Then I did the deep dive, and I said, I think he's a guy you could really consider because the wind was blowing in at 20 miles per hour from center field, right? So you were going to have to really hit a shot. No cheap home runs. We're going to be giving up there. So, but what I ended up saying was it's a scary play. Do it at very low exposure because of how cold it was. And when it's cold, it's very difficult for pitchers who throw movement pitches to get a grip on the baseball and have a feel on the baseball. A slider, a sinker, a two-seam fastball. If you don't have feel of the baseball because it's cold, it is very hard to get movement. And a great example I gave yesterday on the deep dive was Chicago Cubs when they were at Atlanta last week. That was a rain game they ended up playing through. It was very cold. It was like 52 degrees, 53 degrees, and it rained throughout the game. And Chicago's bullpen struggled. I mean, they couldn't throw strikes. They were throwing 55-foot pitches. So you're talking about Sanchez against Boston here. I don't know, man. I have to look deeper into this because the one thing that I'm going to say is Aaron Sanchez is a guy that has movement, and it's going to be 42 degrees, and it's very difficult for those guys to get a feel for the baseball.
Do you get what I'm saying though? Like for example, like we got the pitchers on slate: Godley, Matt, Gray, Quintana, Musgrove, Evaldi, Gosman, even Zamarja. Like he's probably, in my opinion, probably the worst one. But all these guys are pretty respectable pitchers. I mean, that was where I was trying to get at when I was saying there's no like, oh my, like give me like this pitcher's going to kind of get blown up situation. I mean, that's kind of what I see personally on this slate.
I don't know if I completely agree with that. I think there's a couple clear-cut guys on this slate.
Who do you think is the worst pitcher that's going to be going today on this slate?
Without looking too far into it, I mean, the easiest answer to give you is Samardzija, but there again, we don't have an ample sample size to really break Samardzija completely down because he pitched a long time last year with an injury, right, and suffered velocity, control, mechanics, the whole 9 yards. So the velocity in his starts seems to be that. I'm just going to say this: one thing we will look at in the deep dive today is Samardzija's movement from when he was good last year and where he's at right now, and make a decision on him.
Okay. Next team that I'm really going to be looking at bat wise, I feel I like the Cubs. I think the Cubs have a chance at home to kind of get on Musgrove a little bit. But one thing I do want to say is the Cubs' current batting order has already faced. I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry. He's already faced some of these Chicago Cubs bats. 65 plate appearances for the current roster, and they're batting 193. So they definitely have some hits on them. There's a couple guys, Zobrist, Chris Bryant. They have a couple home runs as well. But, I mean, there's nobody that's really standing out to me. But Cubs lineup as a whole, I mean, we know that they have a really stacked lineup with a bunch of really good hitters. So I think I'm going to stick with the Cubs. It's probably going to be my favorite team after Boston that I'm going to be kind of looking at bat-wise on this slate. And then I'm going to look on the other side as well. Quintana definitely has strikeout upside. He's a decent pitcher for sure. But he also has those times where he absolutely just, I mean, he looks like he has no control and he gets blown up. There's some guys on the Pittsburgh side that I like against lefties. A couple guys that really stand out to me. Ketel Marte, I think he's a really good play. Starling Marte. I think he's a really, really good play. King as well. I like King against lefties. For his career, he hits lefties better than he does righties. But there's a lot of lefties in the Pirates lineup as well. You got Josh Bell. You got, Cabrera. He's a switch hitter. But he's a little bit better from the left side. You got Adam Frazier. So for me, I mean, on the Pittsburgh, the guys that are really just standing out for me, I like Marte and I like King, and I mean that's really where I'm at with Pittsburgh. Like I'm saying, man, the bats, it's kind of shallow. I'm gonna have to really kind of look into more some of these pitchers because there's no clear cut bats for me. I mean, do you like Pittsburgh or do you like Cubs? Is there anybody standing out for you on that side of things?
I'm liking the Pirates.
The Pirates, you like them? But who do you like? Who do you like a lot?
I mean, it's not a matter of who do I like because I don't really take that approach of like let me figure out two guys in this lineup. To me, it's more about numbers, correlation, building different correlations, trying to figure out where the chalk's going to be if that lineup's in play. So I mean, for me, it's more like that. But I'm definitely liking Joe Musgrove over Jose Quintana right now, at least. Musgrove, the guy's not a terrible pitcher, and you start looking at kind of some of the peripherals from this year: 1-0 in 2 starts. He's pitched 9 innings. 0.158 BABIP. So he's also got 100% left on base percentage and a 47.4% ground ball.
Right. Yeah, no, and then the couple more bats I definitely think you could look at. I mean, you could look at the Braves versus Steven Matz. I mean, the Braves have a very, very potent lineup. So I definitely think that the Braves lineup is in play as well. And as a team, 70 plate appearances. They have a 295 batting average. They got a couple guys. They have some hits off of Matz, but Matz is a pretty decent pitcher, man. So that's the thing about it. And then you can flip on the other side of things. The Mets have been absolutely scorching hot as a team. This new little lineup with Cano in the mix has been going very, very well. Cano has good numbers in his career off of Gosman. He's 6 for 15 with a triple. So I think Cano, I like the lefties. I definitely like the lefties for the Mets. You got to look at Cano, Conforto, Nemo. He's been in that in that top of that order. Those guys are in play. And then just to round it off with the bats, the chalk spot, in my opinion, like you mentioned, it's probably going to be, the Rockies going against Jeff Samardzija. Jeff Samardzija just hasn't been looking the best lately. And then there's some guys on Colorado that have absolutely crushed Samardzija for their career. And we're talking about in big sample sizes. You got Desmond, 10 for 27, 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 370 batting average. Arenado's 13 for 33, 4 doubles, a triple, no home runs, but 394 batting average. Blackman's 10 for 24, 2 doubles, 2 triples, 2 home runs. Story even has a double, a triple, home run. So I definitely think the chalk spot tonight is probably going to be Colorado. I'm going against Samardzija. The only downfall for Colorado is that they're in San Francisco, which is more of a pitcher's park. But I like the Rockies a lot to really get on Samardzija today.
One thing that you didn't mention at all that you have to mention here is that the difference between yesterday and today with Chicago is the wind is blowing out to right field at 14 miles per hour today. Yesterday it was blowing in at 20 miles per hour, and today it looks like it's blowing out at about 14 or 15 miles per hour. So if that continues and you're going to have a wind that's blowing out of that ballpark, I think you could probably fade both pitchers. We've seen games last year where both teams went nuts because the wind was blowing out like 20 miles per hour. And anytime you have Chicago with that lineup with the wind blowing out at that speed, they're going to be chalk.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, basically you just got to get the ball in the air, and if you hit it any good, it's going to go.
Yeah, if that's going to sustain, then that's something to definitely take into consideration today.
For sure. So you think that if that's the case, and you could kind of look at both sides of that game and a little bit of Colorado?
Absolutely.
Cool. Hey, finish us off with some pitchers and kind of who's jumping out to you so far.
I mean, John Gray. I think John Gray's the clear-cut number one today. I just do. I liked Gray and recommended Gray in his home start. I said you could pitch John Gray in this spot. I believe he went against Walker Buehler. I said both those guys were in play on that slate because their strikeout upside. I think both of those guys. John Gray, he didn't last very long on the Sunday night game. Actually, I'm sorry. He gave up 4 runs pretty early, but they let him go 7 innings into that game. So, I mean, he struck out, I think, 8 guys over 4 innings. Didn't get a win, didn't get a quality start. But at Coors Field against the Dodgers, we saw all the runs those guys put up. John Gray's been a really good pitcher. And one thing that I'll keep citing to just let people kind of know early on in the season, John Gray started the year out really well. I was actually at the game at AT&T Park when he got injured. And was pitching through I think 3 innings, he was pitching an absolute gem, got injured, came out of the game, and then the guy never really was the same last year. Went on the DL, I think, twice. So John Gray's a good pitcher, man. I like Gray. Ended up going 12-9 last year. Ended up still starting 31 games, only pitched 172 in the 3rd innings, but he had a K per 9 rate at 9.5. So you're talking about a guy who's gonna, has the potential to strike out 8, 9, 10 guys upside wise. Only a walk ratio of basically 2.7. So he gives up. The home run could be a skewed number. His home run per 9 because he does pitch at Coors Field. For half of their games are at Coors Field, so that's a little bit off. But I think John Gray right now is clearly the number one. This is a slate to me where you're going to probably pick 2 or 3 pitchers and have very heavy exposure on the guy you feel is number 1. You know, I like San Diego a lot today. I like San Diego a ton today. Call it a gut feeling off things I've seen, but San Diego is a team I like a ton. I don't think I'll be looking to get much exposure to Godley. I just feel that this San Diego team is a super underrated offense. Manny Machado was not an idiot for going there. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Fernando Tatis, the guy hits the ball a mile. So Godley, I'm not really looking to get exposure to him. I just don't think he's right. I don't think he's been right. But that's something we'll get into on the deep dive. Gausman, I like Gausman a ton, man. And you talked about Robinson Cano and BVP. And one of the reasons why I don't put a lot of stock in BVP is that I've watched a ton of Mets games, and Robinson Cano doesn't look right. He does not look right. Ton of soft contact. He's rolling over on a ton of balls. Fastballs in the zone. He's laid on and fouling them off to the left side and fouling them back. He gets pitched middle in with off speed stuff that I've seen him absolutely smash out of the ballpark when he's in Seattle. He's rolling over on hitting foul balls to the right side. He just does not look right. I'm going to look deeper into that. That's something we'll look deeper into. His contact rate right now, what he's been for the season, but he doesn't look right. Robinson Cano doesn't look right, and Kevin Gausman has been absolutely outstanding since going to Atlanta. He just has been. So
he's a perfect example of what we talked about Chris Davis yesterday of needing a change of scenery.
Gausman absolutely needed to get out of Baltimore. He did, and he's been a completely different pitcher. And then the most interesting guy on the slate to me is Eovaldi, right? We know this guy can throw 99 miles per hour consistently. He can absolutely bring it. One of the things we'll get into on a deep dive is take a look at his movement. Is that fastball flat? Has it lost the tilt? Why is he getting hit so hard? One thing about Major League Baseball players, they can time a bullet if it's flat and it doesn't have movement. So that's one thing for us to get into and look at as well.
Yeah. So, hey, man, that's just kind of where we're at. A little brief overview of the slate in general. Jeremy, he does his deep dive piece every single day. We got a crush spot up for MLB. I do my MLB core plays. 5 guys that I think you got to have in all your cash lineups. Hey, we got a lot of MLB stuff on the site. Plus, we have NHL, MMA, NASCAR for Sundays. Jeremy mentioned it at the beginning of the video. We had a ton of PGA content up. Hey, man, a lot of exciting stuff. Check it out, dfscheatsheet.com. Outside of that, good luck on your guys' contest tonight, and peace out, man.